guys, it's Kim here, and welcome back to the top 5 games of 2016. I am joined by the person who is perhaps the most keenest to do this, the wonderful Rythian.
Hi Kim, pleasure to be here, and yeah, I guess I am. I've been sort of poking, like, are we gonna do top 5? I wanna do top 5. Because, I don't know, it's for some reason it's like, throughout the year when I've played games and enjoyed games, I've always sort of in my head, it's like, how much did I like this? I like this a lot. And would I place it on my list? I probably would place it on my list. It's one of those things where I sort of get to like organize my thoughts and almost like stretch them a little bit. And it's
process
pretty cool.
the year.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
But yeah, like for the record, Rythian was like the first person to reply to my email going, does anyone want to do this? And I think he replied within like about a minute, which is the fastest I've ever had a reaction from you. So there we go. Well, shall we get straight into it? Because I know we have a lot to talk about.
We do have a lot to talk about, yeah, because I am technically cheating and mentioning more than 5 games. So yes,
typical.
We're going to go straight into that. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to start with honorable mentions, or do you want to dive straight into the top 5?
Let's go. We'll get the honorable mentions out of the way first. These 3 games, spoilers, there are 3 games, are basically all games that I thought were pretty good, but for one reason or another, they're not quite hanging up in the top 5. And because, well, we don't want to be here all night, I'm going to go over them pretty quickly. I suppose honorable mention number 1, goes to Overwatch, which did officially come out this year. I know a couple of people actually put it on their list last year because it was in beta for quite a while.
The beta testing, yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those games that is just really good, really well done, polished, really interesting characters, great gameplay, and a great competitive feel to it if you really get to it. Like you would know. You played quite a lot of it, I think,
yes,
right?
Darling. Oh, yes.
Yeah. I think I played it the least, or among the least, about all the Yogs and Discord crew. I like the game, but it's one of the things I never really feel like playing on my own. It's one of those things where mostly it hasn't really 100% grabbed me to I gotta play Overwatch.
Yeah, it's the social scene, I think. You play it because your friends are playing it. But
that's the major thing, yeah. Like, if I'm not doing anything in particular, and then, Silas and Zoe goes, let's play some Overwatch, I'll usually jump on that train. But it's easy enough when I'm on my own, or no one particular is, super hyped about playing it. I don't really suggest playing Overwatch, so it's a good game, and it's definitely worth getting mentioned, but not really worth going in the top 5 for me.
Fair enough. And so what are your other honorable mentions?
Stardew Valley is another one. I think this came out really early in the year, actually.
I'm pretty sure
January
or something.
maybe.
Yeah.
Even. So it's been around for quite a while now, and I literally haven't touched it in months and months. But when I did play it early on in the year, it was pretty amazing, actually. I remember how it sort of captured everyone's attention for so long. Everyone was talking about their farm and what they're doing, and who are you dating, who are you going to marry.
And their strawberry jam. Mr. I've got a greenhouse so I can make strawberry all year round.
I am the strawberry jam god.
It was literally the only thing Rythian would go on about. Have you made strawberries yet? Have you got strawberries? Have you done the greenhouse? Have you got strawberries? Whoa, dude.
Oh, man. It's so good. It's so good. Because strawberries only grow in the summer. But if you have a greenhouse, they can grow all the time. And strawberries are worth a lot. Also, you can only buy the strawberry recipe on one of the festivals. And it's one of the first festivals. So usually you're not very rich when that happens. So you can't buy that many. So you wait until the next year around. And you spend all your money on the seeds. Or at least enough to fill up the entire greenhouse, and then you make the jam, and then you make the money,
of a person
and
who
then
sat
you
through
get the
Rythian's
women.
strawberry jam rant all year. Every month this guy brings this up.
Well, I mean, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So that was really fun. It was one of those games that just sort of took over your gaming life for a week or something. It was great. Finally on the honorable mentions list is Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Okay.
I really enjoyed, really loved actually, Deus Ex Human Revolution, which came out, I want to say 4 years ago, 2012 or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really, really good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I put it in. Had we done a top 5 list back then, it would have been way at the top. And Mankind Divided is honestly pretty much more of the same, which in this case is a really good thing. It's Same style, same character, same sort of aesthetic, although like different color scheme, sort of. Like they went heavy on the gold and black on the first one, which I really loved. Actually, it looked really cool. This one is more stark, and you play in a bigger city, and you travel around the world a little bit less. But it's really cool and it's really interesting, and it's basically more of the same. I would probably really, really love it unless they really screw up the ending or something, or towards the end. But I just haven't been able to play it as much. I'm only about, I want to say maybe like 10 or 12 hours into it. I've really enjoyed what I've done so far. It's been great just sitting on like, okay, I'm in this city, and then just like finding everything and doing all the side quests and sneaking into a record store and infiltrating a bookstore and getting better argumentations. And I've really enjoyed my time with this so far, but I feel like it's a little bit unfair to place it higher up on the list when I haven't finished it. Like, what if the latter half of the game is really bad, or the ending is crap, or something dumb happens? So far it's looking really good, and if it continues with the same like level of quality, it could probably end up somewhere in the middle of this list or something. But
okay,
for
right
now,
middle.
Yeah, something like that, probably. For now, I definitely say that. Like, it'll be a strong honorable mention to keep an eye on, but wouldn't be really fair to put it on the list if I haven't finished it.
Fair enough. So with the honorable mentions out of the way.
Yes, we haven't even started the list yet.
Let's start with the list. Things. So what is in at number 5?
Number 5 goes to World of Warcraft Legion, the latest expansion pack to World of Warcraft. And yes, I can hear you giggling.
Why am I not every year, World of Warcraft makes it in there in some way, shape, or form.
It even made it in there the last expansion.
I think it did.
Wasn't that great, honestly, in retrospect. And I remember talking about it during the top 5 and saying like, this comes with a little bit of a caveat. And I remember you were shocked because they didn't put it at 1. And I said, like, it's kind of good, but the end game feels kind of empty, so I'm not sure. Turns out that was pretty much endemic to the entire expansion. It was dead at end game. There were so little things to actually do. So it was a pretty big failure. I'd say it's near one of the only bad expansions World of Warcraft has ever done. Granted, like, okay, we shouldn't spend the entire talking about another expansion. But Legion, then, to talk about the actual one that just came out, has done way better in that regard. There is so much more stuff to do at the end game. And the best part about this one is that leveling experience has always been pretty good for a while, but this time they completely knocked it out of the park. What makes this one so special is that not only do you have a strong basic premise, the Burning Legion is invading again, the greatest enemy the people of Azeroth has ever faced. They're invading, you're fighting them on this broken shore, levels of islands and stuff, which is like the new continent, quote unquote, you're fighting on. It's very good, it's very strong, you feel like there's some definite weight to your decisions, and you're not just in an alternate timeline where nothing really matters like it was last time. This is everything happening. But the best thing is, like, after the first introductionary scenario where big things happen, sacrifices are made, and, you know, everything kicks into high gear, you sort of, depending on class, you go into your Order Hall storyline, is what they're sort of being called. So, for example, my main character is a Death Knight who is specialized into Frost specialization. So I start, and then before I properly go out and level and so on, I get like a message from the Lich King, and he sends me to talk to him. And I go back to talk to the Knights of the Ebon Blade, and we make this uneasy alliance with the new Lich King.
Okay.
And I go into Icecrown Citadel, and I gather up the shards of Frostmourne to forge like 2 blades that are basically the artifact weapon, which is one of the new mechanic. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
If I were to go Unholy or Blood, which are the other specializations, I would forge or find a different weapon. But generally, after that sort of happened, specialization, I then have, say, every other level or so throughout the 100 to 110 experience, I go back and I do like a Death Knight focused storyline. Like, for example, the Death Knight storyline is pretty much you rebuild the 4 horsemen and become like the leader of the Knights of Ebon Blade and so on.
Okay.
And it's one of the best campaigns I've ever run, and it feels special because it is Death Knight special. Like, if you play other classes, you won't do that. Like, if I played my shaman, and it started with me going to the Maelstrom, fighting back the elements, and taking back the Doomhammer that were taken from Thrall, and becoming its new wielder, and that sort of thing. Or if I'm a monk, I mostly face a bunch of demons and brew a bunch of beer. But, like, I mean, that's also cool, you know? On top of that, they've just got a really solid endgame and great raids so far, and they've got loads of great content lined up for the future, so it really feels like they've solved the problem of the last one. Very good expansion,
a
and I'm
good
happy.
makeup to get back into your top 5 then.
Definitely, yeah. Like in another year, this would have been way higher, but this has been such a great year, so a lot of games end up landing higher up. At number 4 comes Dark Souls 3.
Oh.
And you might remember, again, a couple of years ago, we're doing the whole reference thing this time, referencing back earlier, because we have a bunch of sequels on the list.
Yeah.
I want to say 2014 or something, I put Dark Souls 2 at the top, because I really, really enjoyed it. And I think Dark Souls 3 is a better game than Dark Souls 2, and this is only at number 4, which sort of shows you the quality of games we have.
Yeah.
Dark Souls is such a unique experience, and I think 3 managed to sort of be the best version of it so far. Now, granted, I haven't played Bloodborne, which is sort of part of the same series because it was PlayStation 4 only and I don't have a PlayStation 4.
Well, here's the thing. That's the one out of the series that I have played. I haven't played 1, 2, or 3, but I've played Bloodborne. I don't know why. I don't know why that happened. I don't really particularly know why I downloaded it. I just fancied it. But I must admit, I didn't get very far in it because I don't think I'm good enough. Like, I just found it incredibly frustrating.
I think the thing is, I think most everyone have that sort of reaction at first. I think I told you the story of because Dark Souls 2 was like my first one. I never really played Dark Souls 1. And the sheer amount of struggles I had in the beginning when I just kept dying all the time. And usually with a game like that, I would just, no, screw this. But for some reason, I kept going back into it. But in Dark Souls 2, if you've struggled on a hard boss or a hard area or something, and you finally beat it, you feel like a god. You feel like you are the best. You get this massive sense of achievement that you've really overcome something super difficult.
Yeah.
And a feeling like that is sadly a little bit uncommon in games. Like, it definitely does happen in other games, but Dark Souls series, and I assume Bloodborne as well, because made by the same people, has that, and it does it really well. On top of that, it's a really smooth gameplay experience. It's fun figuring out what kind of armor you want to use, what kind of different style you want to use, if you want to throw out faith-based spells or fire spells or dark spells, or if you want to go like massive shield and sword, if you want to go two-hander, how you want to hold it. There's a lot of customization in how you want to actually fight and how you want to figure out your own personal combat gameplay. On top of that, the story is very understated and subtle, and it's very beautiful. This is one thing that's strange about Dark Souls 3, sort of, is whenever you listen to people talk, they don't have like conversational style your conversations, really. They always have this, like, they always proclaim things when they talk. You go up to someone and then someone tells us, like, I've heard the Baron of Darkness has decided that the throne is not for him. One day, humanity will find that we must go further than instead of like, and it grabs you into the feel of Lordran, of like, it feels unique and different, and it's really good at setting atmosphere. I think atmosphere is honestly almost the strongest thing it does, aside from all the other things it does. But overall, more of the same, quote unquote, but does it really well. There's some fantastic areas and boss fights in there. That is really good. Number 3 goes to another early game that came out in 2016. It is XCOM 2. I want to say this came out February, March or something. I don't remember the exact details. Pretty early. Again, more of the same, quote unquote, but in a really good way. I feel like XCOM, like many sequels, took what was really good about XCOM and just magnified it and amplified it to be something amazing. You start, instead of like having a base and you slowly expand, you are now like on the run, because the game basically starts with like XCOM 1 failed, now we are the resistance and we have to go around. And the general strategic gameplay remains mostly the same, but it's cool, it's different in that you feel like you're more on the run and flying about, establishing smaller resistance outposts and so on. But the general gameplay is the same, but there's more of it. Instead of having like 4 different classes, you now have like 5 different classes that all can specialize into like 2 different things. For example, you can become an assault and then you become a blade master, like I chose for you, Kim, for my Team Yogscast squad.
I know.
And frankly, you looked like such an amazing samurai lady. It was amazing.
Thank you.
But it was just really cool. Like they have weapons and swords and stuff, and you have this like nano blade, and you run up and you just slice things apart with massive damage. It's really cool. It's really
perfect.
cool.
It's so like me as well, you know.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the things as well, is the customization was so much more in depth in this one as round. I saw a lot of people kind of created me in their games as well, and I was like, wow, that's actually really quite deep, like all the options that you had.
Yeah, because like in the first one you had some, and the main thing was you sort of get the hair color right and like maybe a little bit of a skin color, and you just name them and you're sort of good to go. In this one you can get much more in depth to it, and the fact that there's way more mods optional as well, and they have like a few minor DLCs that give you more customization, makes it so that it really feels like you can make proper things. For my playthrough, I did the whole Team Yogscast thing again, which people always seem to enjoy, of course.
I love it.
And I spent some time like designing, you know, the Yogscast crew, and it was really fun. And some of them looked way better than others, you know, and it was great. And it was really cool to do all these things. And as always, I shout like, "No, Kim!" and like, "Oh, Shin!" and that sort of thing. It was cool. And
I think that always
the
makes
dice
it way
goes
more
your
fun.
way.
Yeah.
It was a really good game, solid strategy, very fun, and I'm looking forward to like replaying again at some time. It is a long game though; it takes quite a while to get to the end, but it's good. It's very good.
Well, that's fair enough. So that's in at number 3. So we're getting up to the top 2 now.
Yeah.
So what is number 2?
Number 2 to me was a surprise. It was a game I really didn't think I was going to enjoy that much because I haven't really played much of the previous games in the series, and it is Hitman.
Okay.
Hitman 2016, Hitman all caps, Hitman no subtitle. Hitman World of Assassination. Basically, the new Hitman. It just has the Hitman name. I don't know what else to call it. But this one was amazing. I did not expect to like this one much at all. First of all, because I had just heard bad things about like the technical parts of it. Like, there's some issues. It's online only. It's episodic, and this is probably going to be garbage.
It was an unusual direction for Square Enix and IDOS, I think. You know, especially. But then that said, given the full kind of platform game that they had was just garbage, like absolute
apparently
garbage.
The previous Hitman game, Hitman Absolution, like it wasn't necessarily a bad game, but it wasn't a game that Hitman fans wanted to play. Apparently, they said this game feels like Splinter Cell. It doesn't feel like Hitman. It's like it's a good stealth game, but it's not what we want. And then they went like really back to the origins of like how to have a really good Hitman experience as opposed to like a good stealth game experience. Yeah. And they knocked it out of the park. Like, talk about a home run. Good God, this is a really fun game. And there are so many things you can do, and you spend like a couple of hours, no joke, I spend a lot of time on this first one, and then you're done, it's like, wow, that was really good. And then boom, episode 2 hits. And all of a sudden you go to the beautiful Sapienza in Italy, and it's a giant beach and an amazing mansion, and you go down into the town and you realize, oh man, there is so much to do. And it's got this like great sense of humor about things as well. Like walking around listening to people have discussions are great, although they do tend to sound the same all the time because they reuse the voice actors a lot. Like Yuri Lowenthal, the guy who voices tons of things, but for me, mainly the guy who voices the Prince of Persia in Sands of Time and Two Thrones. He voices a lot of NPCs, and I recognize him every time. But I don't know, I kind of smile every time I hear him rather than getting annoyed, so it's kind of cool. But it's really good. You have so much freedom and so many different ways to do your mission. You can go in, just grab an assault rifle and shoot everything you see, or you can do the whole social stealth by getting disguises or convincing people. There's a mission you go into a hotel, take out a rock star. You can basically knock out the replacement drummer, and then you wear his flamboyant outfit. You go in there and it's like, oh yeah, you're the new drummer, right? And then see what you can do. 47 sits down there, blasts out an amazing drum solo, and everyone is like, wow, yeah, all right, we should go talk. And then you go talk to him, and you throw the rock star off the roof, and it's great.
What a way to go. What a way to go, though. Like that, I almost feel like that rock star would be like, yeah, sure, like killed by my drummer, fine.
It's really good. It's actually really fun.
Well, it
caught me by surprise, but it's wow.
It sounds like it's kind of like, and similar with other games this year, you know, the games have kind of almost fixed what they did previously, and kind of also just become a bit funnier and a bit more kind of like, we know this is kind of ridiculous.
A bit more lighthearted almost,
yeah. Well, I feel the same with Final Fantasy. Like 13 was a hot mess, and 15, you know, it fixes quite a lot of things. And, you know, there's still some things that I'm not convinced about, but the one thing is it's a lot funnier, and it doesn't take itself seriously. And kind of like Hitman, you know, it's poking fun almost at what you can do. But yeah, that seems to be a little bit of a trend this year, I feel.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Yeah, a lot of them have loosened up a little bit and stuff, and that's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, I'd say Hitman, like, massive recommendations for that one, by the way. I know it had a lot of hesitations for it, and that's fine, but now the entirety of Season 1 is out, and you can buy it all in one go, and they've reduced a lot of the online-only type things, so if you had any doubts, go get it, because it is so fun to walk around in those worlds and be the craziest Hitman that ever did anything, and it's super fun.
Crazy Hitman.
Yeah.
So with that kind of surprise entry in at number 2, well, I think we know where we're going to go for number 1. Rythian, what is your number 1 game of 2016?
Drumroll, please. Number 1 is Dishonored 2. And yes, of course, if I'd gone this far without mentioning it, it would have been really weird if that one didn't end up at number 1. Where do I even start?
Here we go.
I suppose let's start by saying that Dishonored 1 was my favorite game ever, of all time. It's unfair to say nothing came close, but it was an unqualified number 1. So I suppose there was a little bit of worry that Dishonored 2 wouldn't quite live up to it in a way. I had faith, and the stuff I'd heard beforehand made me think that, like, they're gonna do a good job. But there's still always that little thing like, oh, what if they try to change something too much, or what if they try to aim for a different audience or something? But
mainstream it.
Yeah, I needn't have worried, because it is just done in the correct style and theme that it feels like such a natural continuation of the first one, and takes all the cool stuff from the first one and, again, amplifies and magnifies it and makes it even better. For one thing, you now can play as 2 different characters. You can play as Emily or Corvo. And while you go to the same levels and generally do the same things, it does feel different, not only because you have different powers and different dialogue and interactions with people, but like they have like a different feel to them. There are 2 particular levels in this game that are absolutely amazing, and I'm gonna stay careful on spoilers here.
Yeah, no spoilers, because I haven't played it yet. It's gonna be my Christmas game, and I swear to God, Rythian, if you spoil it for me, I'll break you, okay?
I won't spoil it, I promise. No spoilers, just like basic sort of gameplay mechanics for the 2 levels that impressed me the most, and I will back myself up a little bit in saying like they've used these materials in like previews and stuff before, so I won't be the first one to completely break it. But so the first level that really, really impressed me was the Clockwork Mansion. I think it's like the 4th or something mission in the game. You need to find this Grand Inventor guy for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
And you walk into his mansion, and he sort of greets you and everything, and then you don't really know where to go. And then you pull a lever that is in the corner, and the entire room starts to shift as like rooms go down and up and like twist and rotate, to suddenly the room is entirely different than it was before, and a new path is opened up. And you walk through that way, and then you find a dead end, and then you open that one, and then the little circle thing where the bed was on just rotates, and the wall moves around. And every room in the place sort of shifts and turns as you go, and it feels almost like a type of puzzle thing, but gradually you sort of begin to understand it and begin to make use of it yourself.
That just sounds like, I mean, how on earth, the level design, like how much time must the developers have put into designing
that's what I'm
that?
thinking,
because that's just like, that's insane.
Like, because it's like functional changes. You see the room. It isn't like a cutscene and then suddenly you're in a different level. It's like you see like mechanically a room shift on its axis to realize that on the backside of this was like a desk, and it was a bed on the other one. And then you see that like for a split second while it's turning, oh, I can go down there to the side and find this little path and so on.
I mean,
it's really
I can't
good.
wait. I can't wait to play that level. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's so fun. It was my favorite level for a long time until I hit next level. Not next level, but like number 7, I think, something.
Okay.
And this one, This one is a little bit more dangerous to talk about without spoiling, but long story short, you get the ability to travel back in time, like X amount of time.
Okay.
So you're walking around in this abandoned, dilapidated mansion, and everything seems pretty horrible, and you know that something really bad happened here X amount of time ago. And with the ability to travel back and forth in time, you suddenly get the ability to change what happened. And it's more than just like, oh yeah, you go into a portal or something. You have this thing with you that you can sort of fold up and see into the past or the future or the present, I guess, when you're walking around at the same time. So you walk around and the place is, ruined, I guess is the best word for it. And there's just like some rats and broken windows and things. And you're walking around, and then through this thing you have, the little timepiece thing, you can sort of see how the old mansion is all nice and colorful, and you see guards walking around, and then you can shift back into the time of the past, and then you can do things there, such as like open a door or alter the balcony so that it falls down so that you can climb up in the future or present, I guess, is one of those things.
It sounds a little bit similar to like, there's like Majora's Mask and things like that. Not
sort
Majora's
of, I
Mask,
guess,
or Ocarina of Time, and where they play with
time travel thing,
zipping backwards and forwards. Probably not to that
kind
of degree.
It feels really direct, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing there's a puzzle. I'll see if I can remember from beginning to end how this puzzle worked, but you walk around and you see a room that is, the door is like a little bit open and there's something in there, and in Dishonored you have the heart that can show you that there's a bone charmer or something. So you know there's something in there, right? But you don't know exactly what, and the door seems blocked, and inside there are these blood flies that are dangerous. And I mean, you can kill them if you get there, but the room is dangerous and infected and you can't get in there. So you travel back to the present and you go around to the side, and there's rubble and stuff in the way. So you go back to the past and you sneak under the desk, like really far into the desk, as far as you can, sneak back, and then you're on the other side of the rubble. You go into the room and it's very dangerous, lots of blood flies everywhere. Travel back to the past. In the past, then you can sort of see the room is kind of nice. It doesn't seem like any problem, but there's a dead wolfhound there, and then there's a note saying that I'm worried that there might be bloodfly larvae inside this wolfhound. So you can then take the wolfhound and throw it into the furnace and then burn the corpse. And then once you've done that, you can go back to the present, at which point the bloodflies are gone, and you can then see that like they were covering a safe. And then the safe is like thrown over and like opened and ruined, and it's on the ground. But you can then see the combination of the safe open on it. So it's 238, and then you can go back in time again to type into, or to flip in 238 on the safe, open it up, and get your treasure. And it's like one minor puzzle in this entire level, which goes towards the end. It goes even crazier with the time travel stuff, but that's more story related stuff. But just the whole mechanics of it, it feels like they could have done an entire game in this sort of mechanic, the time travel of back and forth brief stuff, and they just did it for this one level, and it feels amazing. You feel so powerful, and it feels really cool.
Honestly, I think the developers need a pay raise in terms of level design and kind of just...
Level design has just massively impressed me.
Getting their heads around that. So, I mean, I can see why it's your number one, and I can't wait to, get into it for Christmas, because I'm kind of bummed out that I didn't play it straight, because it was my top number one game I was looking forward to this year. So, but maybe I just need the Christmas break to kind of sink into it straight away.
I can't recommend it strongly enough. Those two levels were the ones that stood out, but the rest of the game on its own is amazing too. It still has the same really satisfying way of how you explore levels, and I mean, you can decide to go a no powers run in this game. There's an achievement for it and an option for it, in which case you don't have any supernatural powers. Which, I mean, do that for a challenge or for a thing, but whenever I play a game like this and I have something like Blink or Far Reach, and then I play other games, I just miss having that ability to teleport around and do so many cool things.
Well, that's fair enough.
The story is great, the returning characters feel great, the combat is amazing, the stealth gameplay is top-notch. It did everything I wanted it to, and it's probably my new favorite game, just barely beating the first one.
Ever. So
Yeah.
Wrapping it up then. So you've got a pretty strong list for 2016. In at number 5 is World of Warcraft Legion. In at number 4 is Dark Souls 3. XCOM 2 is number 3. And number 2 is Hitman. And number 1 is Dishonored 2, which sounds like it's going to be game of Rythian's life.
Game of forever, yeah.
Game of forever.
It was a fantastic game for years. Fantastic year for games. There we go. And it was really good. I did not expect it to be this amazing, but it was. And I can't wish for anything else. This has been an amazing year for games.
Yeah. So if you guys have also agree and think this is an amazing year for games, then let us know what your top 5 games of 2016 are in the comment section below. And very much thank you to Rythian. And
Thanks for having me, Kim. It was
next time.
It was good.
Yeah. Allons-y. We go. Farewell.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.